And we're here.
Awesome.
We're live. There's always a big dip in the kilobytes per second processing rate on OBS that always freaks me out when we get started, but here we are.
Mm.
And
It settles down. It settles
hopefully
down.
it settles down.
Excuse me.
Earthquake!
I'm just hitting stuff with my hand here. A little bit nervous. No, I'm not. We're live. We're live. We're here. We're gonna dive into conversation.
Yeah, welcome back to Spoken Openness. To do an introduction, this is episode number 7, cast number 7.
7. But who's counting?
Something, it feels like 6. Feels like 6.
It feels like 10 because we did like,
That's
well, we
true.
did the 2 design sessions
Yeah.
and yeah. Yeah.
Just having some cold brew coffee.
I'm just finishing a sandwich here.
Nice.
I was a little bit hungry. I've been hungry. I've been very hungry for the last week.
It's that happens. It's really weird. Sometimes you just become a hungry person for a while,
Hmm.
and I don't really know what that's about. It could even not be necessarily correlated to activity or exercise output. Sometimes you just get hungry, you know?
Yeah, most of the times it's out of stress, I think. Most people eat out of
Mm,
stress. I do that um, sometimes.
yeah.
But when you're eating out of stress, but you're eating bad shit, then that's when it gets crazy. I think eating is very emotional for a lot of people.
100%.
You know,
Get that
dude,
dopamine.
and it's like, hey, something great happened. Let's go celebrate. Let's go for a dinner. And then if you're feeling down, it's like, oh, let's go get an ice cream. Or
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
you're bored, it's like, let's have some popcorn. Or like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's
mm,
so true. And part of that, without having to go into any of the diet stuff, because that's such a big wormhole, but we
let's
know
not go
that
there.
gut bacteria affects your decision making and can control your like what you're craving and what you want to do, your actions. It can
Yeah,
affect your actions, and stress can affect your gut bacteria. So it's
stress affects
all,
everything.
and also stress probably makes you want to get that dopamine hit because it gives you something to calm down, makes you feel like you've achieved something. That's what the
Of
dopamine,
course.
uh,
Yeah.
that's what it's doing. Yeah.
And eating is achieving in a lot of ways.
I thought you said eating is shitting.
Eating is cheating too. Yeah. No, but when you eat, it's like you're achieving something. It's like, I made it.
Yeah. You know what's always funny for me? Going to the grocery store and buying food and toilet paper at the same time. That's all I'll say. You're
That's
buying
funny.
you're
That's
buying the
funny.
whole cycle of
Thank
life.
you.
We take a
Yeah,
we take a lot. It takes a lot to run a human being, man. It takes a lot
exactly.
to
Yeah.
run a
And I was gonna
human
say,
being.
to be hungry, both physically and mentally, like curiosity is a way of hunger.
Yeah,
I think we've got that blessing to enjoy both beautiful and delicious food and um, conversation feasts.
yeah, yeah. You can get hungry, intellectually hungry.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. And it feels fulfilling sometimes in the same way that food feels fulfilling. It can give you energy like food can give
Yeah.
you. There's a lot of correlations to that metaphor. I like it a lot. And that's also why I guess we talk about information diet. What do you choose to
Yeah,
take in?
exactly. It's a
What's in?
beautiful metaphor.
Yeah. What's always kind of interesting to me is that if I feel motivated, then that usually is coupled with this weird desire to feel hungry, to not just constantly eat and to like feel like I want to be satisfied. But I start to enjoy the feeling of being hungry and being in that moment of being hungry and being completely content and in control of deciding how I want to react and what I want to do with that situation, as opposed to uh, it's I feel like it's a much more automatic cycle when you are just going the comfort, satisfaction, dopamine food thing. It's less conscious. So when I feel motivated, usually I want to feel hungry, and it's like an exciting feeling. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you feel that.
Well, if you're not hungry, then you might die.
It's
Um,
gonna take a while, but
that's,
yeah, I mean,
yeah, but I mean, you have to be hungry so that
yeah. I also don't think
shit happens.
we know, like, we don't know real hunger. We know
That's what
craving,
yeah, that's where I was
really.
going.
We
Yeah,
don't know
exactly.
real hunger.
We know craving, but um, if you lose the craving, and then you allow yourself to be hungry, like if you do a long fast,
Yeah,
and then you revisit food after like 5 days or 3 days,
yeah,
that gives you a different perspective on the whole craving thing and the whole stress eating
yeah.
and nutrition.
But yeah, it's really interesting, and then you'll slowly, like most things, gravitate back into habit and historical patterns of your life, and that perspective will disappear, or at least become smaller or less, um, the spotlight will move from that perspective or from that revelation onto something else. That's really, I think, the most important thing, and maybe why conversations like this are important, is to remind yourself where to put the spotlight, what ideas to keep illuminated, because there's so much in there, and it's contradictory, and a lot of it's habit and some of it's pattern. But a lot of the practice is reminding yourself what to think about, I think.
Yeah,
Like just remembering the stuff that you want to think about.
I agree. Um, Maybe that's why consumption of content is never-ending thing because you revisit certain themes or processes or intellectual worlds, but every time you go back there, it's like you don't go back to the same learning experience
Right. You never step in the
you
same
can
river
repeat.
twice.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because you may forget, and then whenever you remember,
Yeah.
it's like you're discovering it again from a new mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I saw you
because
question the word mindset there, but
yeah, because we've talked about this, and I was like, is that the um yeah, dude, I had a realization while you were talking. I
yeah.
realized my camera may be recording at 120 frames per second. Is that going to
Oh,
affect the whole thing?
that might be why it's a little more glitchy. Do you want to take 5 seconds and fix that? I can
I
put on the
just changed the
pause image.
setting. I was like, whoa, that may be. Okay, I'm doing it.
Okay, can you do it while keeping a headphone in, or it's too far?
No, it's right here, but I just have to go behind the camera to see the monitor.
Okay, I'm
Uh,
gonna I'm gonna do a brief retelling of a story that I heard from the Ram Dass lecture I was listening to last night, and I'll catch you up when you get back.
I'll hear it. Okay, so I'm listening now.
So I was listening to, I think it's the Here and Now podcast with Raghu Marcus and Ram Dass. They were talking about, I don't know when, but in the 70s maybe, they were in India, and Maharaji, the guru, forget, try not to put any previous notions of guru or teacher or onto the whole thing. Just um, he was a guy that they learned a lot from. And this story, I thought it was really funny because a lot of the stories are really funny, regardless of what you think about gurus or teachers or whatever. I think this was a funny story. Um, there was this
Great.
guy they heard about in the Himalayas who was teaching it, who was going to teach meditation, and Ram Dass was like, "Hey, Maharaji, I want to go up and do this meditation." And Maharaji basically responded with, "If you want." like okay, if you feel like you have to do that, if it's going to help you on your spiritual kind of making fun of his seriousness of the whole thing, of like feeling like he was going to next level his spirituality or whatever. And he left, and other people who were there, like Raghu Marcus, who were around Maharaji, as soon as Ram Dass left, he basically told all these other people, "Hey, you got to go to the Himalayas. Ram Dass is teaching a meditation course." So Ram Dass got there, and they basically informed him, like, the guy who was going to teach this meditation course can't come. Someone in his family's sick. And then he found out, you're teaching the meditation course. And then all of these like Westerners started showing up. All these people started showing up, and he had to teach the meditation course. And I just thought that was a really funny. And Raghu Marcus was talking about it, saying how much he got from that. Like, he still takes some of the stuff from that like session with him, uh, and uses it daily. And I thought it was pretty funny because a lot of the whole point, if you listen to Watts or any of those guys, McKenna, Krishnamurti, all those guys, they basically are saying you're uncovering what you already know, or you're trying to just forget about the stuff that you is unnecessary, and it'll be there. And it's kind of like this notion that we're always trying to find it from external sources, and we're always trying to learn about something, and we're always trying to we feel like we have to look for something to get, and then finally we'll be enlightened or have the understanding. And I think that's a thought that I would like to keep the spotlight on in my mind, of just remember, a lot of the times what you're looking for, you can find, it's already there. And just that idea is something that I think is a great idea. And I just thought that was
Yeah.
a funny story.
It's a great and super ancient idea. The concept that it's all within us.
Yeah.
It was on the, it was written on the top of the Delphos door. The What is it that I'm trying to remember? I'm so bad at recalling
That's okay.
accurate. Um, Before you entered, you were already here, and you will remain here after you leave. Something along those lines. I know
Nice.
the exact thing in Spanish, but I think that's very profound and very related to, this concept that you can figure everything out if you turn and look inside instead of outside.
Yeah.
But would you say that's not true in some ways? Or are we
Uh,
saying that's it depends on where you're coming from? 100%, I think.
yeah, if I were to answer that 100% honestly, I would say that uh, I think if you go far enough using any approach, self reference or internal exploration or external discovery, if you go far enough, I think you'll come to the same conclusions or the same fundamental revelations. That being said, I think that there are unique lessons that are learned on the journey towards those universal truths that are different and separate depending on your approach. Whether it's you're going to find uh, revelations in a forest and taking in the external or reading something that from a book, or you're going to get unique insights, little tidbits that you wouldn't get maybe if you were sitting down meditating. However, if you go far enough, I think the dissolution of ego, the identifying with a wholeness other or singularity or oneness, I think that that is a universal truth that you'll reach regardless of what heavy investigative method you employ or you take. Would you would you agree with that or no?
Maybe not entirely, but I think if you choose a method that goes outward,
Yeah.
it, it's gonna take you inward sooner or later.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to sooner or later shift your perspective from a desire of knowledge to a welcoming, non-attached welcoming of wisdom, which is not always practical, it's not always solid, it's not always founded on rational, 100% rational thought.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start questioning very subtle worlds, to say just um, not put any tag on it, just I don't know, but maybe I'm arguing that subjective experience goes farther than material objective experience. I'm not sure about that, but if you're looking inward, you're reflecting on subjective matter, right?
When you're looking inwards?
Yeah, when you're looking for answers inside yourself, to put it some way, it's
Would you say that the feeling of ego dissolution and unifying with an abstract oneness is that uh, um, subjective or an objective experience?
I would say that's subjective, but it's both in the way that
Should we look up the definition of objective and subjective?
if you want to, why do you feel like we need to?
Well, because if something's objective,
Mm-hmm.
in my understanding, basically it means it can be measured and verified by multiple different sources of
Mm-hmm.
testing.
Yeah.
And once it has like a massive verification, or it can't be falsified, then it's an objective truth. Well, then
Right.
if
Do you?
that's true, if that's true,
Mm-hmm.
then is millions of people experiences over thousands of years not enough verification for something to become objective?
Something happened.
Something did happen. Also, I'm
You're
having issues
back.
with
Oh,
the um, did I get to the end of the sentence in your...
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm on a
Yeah.
wrong network.
But it's glitching a lot. Hmm. Okay.
Um,
I think we're back.
can
Can you
we
hear me?
turn this? Oh, this kind of sucks. I'm on the
Yeah.
wrong network. I need to change network, but if I switch network, it's gonna pause.
Dude, should we should we start over the whole thing?
I think we
No,
can. I'll join it. I'll join it up. Let's pause it. I'll switch networks and I'll call you back.
it's not gonna stop the stream.
Uh, Let me find out actually.
Yeah, of course.
I'll just switch networks and see what happens. Everyone can see my network. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Whoa.
That worked. Nice. We don't have to stop and like,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool. Um, did you
We'll
hear the end of
see.
my sentence there? By the way,
So you're asking,
something happened to your audio. It might have switched to this, and then you did you
wait, wait,
switch
wait.
it back? Can you tap it?
I'm tapping.
Oh yeah, it's right. I think at one point you were really quiet, and I turned it up, and then I looked at it and realized you were like in the red. So then I turned it down again. So I don't know what happened, but
That's okay.
this is a
Uh,
technical issue episode.
but okay. Um,
Did I, so I get, the
so you're
last thing I
asking
said was,
if like
yeah, you
millions
get it.
of
Yeah.
subjective experiences can amount to an objective experience because, or an objective truth.
Yeah. It's,
Can you, yeah. So can you arrive to an objective truth out of millions of subjective experiences around oneness that have happened over thousands or even millions of years? Maybe not millions, but
yeah, I guess
I don't
the
know.
thing is,
Um, it's
I,
an abstract. It
right.
will still be an abstract concept, though.
And
Like
I guess,
it will.
sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
I was just going to say that I think maybe it can be an objective truth that this is a real human experience and that the feeling of this is real. But I guess then the objective uh, claim that therefore the feeling is associated with an actual real phenomena in the world, maybe that's where it becomes not an objective truth. But the truth can be that, yes, this is a verified human potential experience that is a real experience.
Right. So that
But then
brings
it
me.
becomes, does it matter if it's not a real?
It does matter. Yeah,
It
it
does
does matter.
matter.
I'd say so. And it has mattered for a long time. That's why we've had
can you
wars over
say
it.
again
Like,
what you think we're talking about, if it matters or not? What don't you think matter? What do you think matters?
I could give you an example. There's a doctor slash research scientist. Her name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross,
Yeah.
and she has a lot of books on death because she's worked with terminal illness patients
Hmm.
over like around 30 years or something.
Yeah.
And one of the common experiences that she's documented over many cases is some form of contact or communication with the afterlife.
Right.
Um, but I'd say, and she says this, it doesn't mean that I'm out of battery. It doesn't mean
Anything can happen on a Spoken Openness podcast.
that she discovered, like her studies, it doesn't mean that her studies are some kind of evidence that there's afterlife, right?
Right.
It could mean many things, but not necessarily proof that people are communicating with life after death. And it's a highly complex topic,
Right.
but it does matter whether people are communicating with life after death, or whether there's life after death, some form of consciousness transition,
Right.
or if it's just you die and your body either rots below earth or
Yeah.
is burned into ashes, and that's it.
Yeah.
No more anything, any sort of experience.
Well, here's
It
yeah.
Yeah, it matters. I'd say it matters.
Right.
And
So my question is then, if you experience life in a certain way, say you're having these near-death experiences,
mhm,
and scientific reductionist materialism says that can't be verified as an objective truth about the reality of the universe.
mhm.
If you are living as if that feeling was real and that experience was real, why does it matter what these people why does it matter that these other people are saying about that experience that you had? Do you think that living in a way that you are responding to experiences that can't be verified, if you are living as if there's an afterlife and that what you do in this world affects your life after death, what that means, if you have built-in suppositions
Yeah,
about that and you live in a certain way, most likely in a better way, if those are your beliefs, most likely you're probably compelled to be a better person.
right.
Wouldn't it be
Hmm.
better to believe that something that can't be verified but is experientially beneficial to your life, rather than believe yes, it can't be verified, therefore I'm not even going to have anything to do with it because it's
So
not an objective truth?
you're making an argument towards faith, we'd say.
I guess so. I'm making an argument towards what beliefs affect your life in what way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I mean,
when does it actually matter that something is verifiable, if you're looking at it through the lens of what makes what makes experience in what way? I've always wrestled with this. This has been my argument
of
about people who
course,
believe
I
in
understand.
astrology. Stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's like,
Hmm.
how's
When,
your
but
life? Is it better?
So, if believing something without sufficient evidence allows you to have a more fulfilling life, is that worth it? Because faith of all sorts solves a problem, mostly moral, and a curiosity oriented, or even the angst, the existential angst problem. Faith sort of solves it.
Right.
Um, but then it becomes a highly complex
Yes.
subject to talk about. What is it that you're believing? What is it that
Yes.
your presuppositions that build upon each other, and then you have layers of layers until, the extreme of that is almost always a delusional case, a psychopathic
Yes.
sort of mind.
Yes.
Um,
Also, what
Yeah,
ideology are those beliefs encompassed within, and how do you decide what to have faith in and what not to have faith in? What are
exactly.
your
It, it
ground rules and framework by which you allow yourself to have faith?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It raises a lot of different issues and debatable ethic and moral standpoints.
Can I?
And also,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say, for example, if you know, a lot of people are being highly um, moral about meat consumption.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, they are.
a lot of people are.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good information, bad information, very vague information, a lot of people defending a lot of layers of the argument, which is very complex, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not bringing it up so that we go into that at all, but just as an
Yeah.
example of how
This podcast
one,
is just us avoiding talking about diet.
yeah, but it always comes up.
But sorry, keep going. I cut you off.
I don't know, it's just one thing that came to mind of how um, a belief that, you know, it's bad
Right.
in a blanket statement, bad to overall eat meat.
Yes.
That a lot of people may, what? What happened? This is the worst technical.
Or the
Um,
best.
yeah, my apologies. I'm trying to figure it out, but it's not happening. I'm just gone. No video at all.
Yeah, you're gone.
Bro, my bro. How do I fix this? There. No?
Do you want to? Do you want to call? I'll go to the picture and then you can call it back. Oh. All right, we're back. Just next time you close the video, can you let me know? Just because it goes to like my chats and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah.
fine. It's totally fine. Just then I can throw up the image. There's
Hmm.
nothing personal there. It's just
Dude,
Um,
I'm sorry. I just remembered that's what fixed it last time, and I was like super fast clicking.
100%. Yo, I need to go. I need to take a bathroom break. This is the worst podcast. I'm gonna throw up the image. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Welcome to Spoken Openness Podcast, episode number 7, the most riveting
Chapter 2.
episode in the history of Spoken Openness.
Yeah, this is an episode we learn from and not repeat ever again.
Um,
Mistakes. Oh, by the way, for next episode, I'll for sure have a direct camera connection, so no more black screens from my end.
nice. I don't know
Hopefully.
why I am getting black screens. That's
You
something
get
I'm.
like spontaneous flickers. They're good. They're
Yeah.
like awakening reminders. They're like reminders to breathe and realize that not all is perfect.
Yeah.
Tech, like our brains, is faulty sometimes,
Hmm.
and that's the beautifulness of human error. Live to you from us now, here and now. Thank you very much. Let's keep going.
Live from we to we.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so I guess that it's a fundamental question, and it's a really deep question that I've had for a while. For a
Yeah,
while, what if I made a rule, and then you tell me if you like the rule?
please.
All right.
Yeah.
The
I'm almost 90% that I won't like the rule.
Yeah, I
Just
know you're
because
not
it's a
gonna like
rule
it.
and it's already like
I
being
know.
imposed.
I know. How about in general,
Yeah.
it is beneficial
Mm-hmm.
to have faith for ideas that, when manifested in the world, result in a measurable and objective improvement of life.
100%. I think that in general, being positive about things that are not certain is a great thing to be positive about.
Right.
Um,
But
that might be, yeah.
what if that thing is that every morning three really cool DJs in another dimension wake you up with private music, and that you truly believe that? Like, you 100% believe that
That
there
sounds great.
are actual DJs,
Mm-hmm.
and every morning you wake up and you're like, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mike. Hey, George. And
Have you
like,
seen that? Do you know someone that
no.
that does that?
I'm just saying that as an example.
Yeah.
Say you actually believe that, like, you 100% committed believe that. There's no tongue in cheek. There's no, like, you believe that. You tell people about it. Uh, you know. But
If it makes you happy,
every
then
morning, you get up. You're more pleasant. Maybe you make breakfasts for people you love. You're,
hmm
uh,
yeah, yeah.
you'd be crazy though. You would be crazy.
It depends on who's saying you're crazy and what does that mean. But
That, I guess,
who's
it goes
who's
back to us
sane?
saying, I guess it goes back to saying that uh that the feeling of dissolution of ego and oneness is not something that can be verified objectively by science necessarily. Maybe it can. It hasn't been. What
It
is
has
that?
been. Hmm
Oneness, collective consciousness,
hmm
everything is one. Um the trouble is, if you just say at one point the universe was the size of a pinhead, they'll believe you. Any rational materialist, astrophysicist, they'll be like, yeah, 100%. Everything was once a wash of energy and potential that eventually formed over billions of years into the novelty we have today. So if you're
Yeah.
saying we're all one, and you say it in that way, in that language, using those terms, everyone's like, yeah, 100%, that's true.
Right, but
But
that doesn't mean we're all one in the sense that a Buddhist might argue, right? I mean,
Do you think it's not just different language, though?
even if it's the same language, you would have to clarify what you're meaning by it. And then you can start a discussion. So you need to have first of all, a essential proposition. You just have like a 5K RE panel.
Yeah. It's called the sun. Sorry. Say that again. You need to agree on
Even if you're using the same language, you
Yeah.
still need to clarify what you're meaning by the language you're using.
Right.
And you need to have a basic proposition so that you can elaborate on the subject matter and not get lost and have a coherent conversation
Right.
to promote understanding.
I guess here's the thing that I'm grappling with, and I guess it's the both and all of that stuff is involved. But
Hmm.
um, Eastern philosophy, spirituality, like wisdom teachers, ancient knowledge, all of this stuff is really interesting and is beautiful to consider, and almost like as a pastime. It's another massive leap to adopt what those teachings actually are and perceive the world in that way. That's a massive, like, Alan Watts approaches every single person as a manifestation of the universe approaching himself as a reflection of himself and everything at one time. Or Ram Dass, when he sees someone, he sees a reflection of soul that is no different from himself, that is all a representation of love and consciousness. Like, these are beautiful ideas, but I think that's really how they perceive people, the world, things around them. That is a massive thing to adopt.
Yeah.
And would fly in the face of hard, rational perspectives of the world that would see that as delusional.
And then you would see them as delusional if they're not in your mindset.
Yes. You would
And then
see, yes.
then they're not then you're not in oneness anymore.
Well, no, you would see them as the same representation of the universe that's wearing the clothes of a rational scientific materialist who is on their own stage of their evolutionary journey in spirituality, and you love that, and you love that they're in that state, and you recognize that they're exactly where they need to be, and they're coming at you in that way, and it's beautiful, and it probably has something to teach you.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
It wouldn't
Hmm.
necessarily have to be a conflict.
Exactly.
But
But
there's a
you could even put yourself and your mindset in their shoes and contemplate things from their perspective.
right.
And you would have to be able to do that, otherwise you're not really being empathic with them, right? So the higher perspective contemplates all perspectives at once.
Both end.
Yeah, but you could be fooling yourself into thinking you're one with everything and that you have the higher perspective and that you're the both and for all always.
But couldn't
And
you also argue that from a rational scientific materialist perspective?
yeah, it depends where you put yourself in what position you're putting yourself
At that
to
moment.
at that moment, so that you tackle the question at hand from that perspective. I mean,
But then
because
there's no
you could
truth. Then
also,
there's no truth. Am I
why would you
wrong?
jump
Then
to
there's no
why would you jump
truth.
to that conclusion though? I don't think it necessarily jumps to the there's no truth conclusion. Because there's truth, and I'm not saying that, yeah, there's truth in both, maybe that's what I'm saying.
These are the questions that
There's
baffle
truth
me.
in putting yourself in the individual point of view, and
Yes.
there's truth in putting yourself in the collective consciousness, non-local, we point of
Yes.
view.
Okay. I like this episode is like me asking you questions and bouncing off things.
I have a lot
Uh,
of questions too, but I'm
okay,
just
can
going
I
along.
do I got one more.
Please.
Uh,
And it's great that when you're being the one that is being asked the question, you kind of need to come up with an answer. And like I
yeah.
could be asking the question,
Yeah,
but it's fun.
totally.
Okay, bring it on.
And I spend a lot of time doing this in my own head too. Just like
Yeah, yeah,
asking,
yeah.
getting confused. Would you agree that there's only so many thoughts we can have in our head at one time?
Conscious thoughts.
Yeah, thoughts that you're
Because
aware of.
there's the yogic concept that you get around 1,000 thoughts per blink of an eye,
Right. Okay. I'm
and
talking about
it's
you. Okay. I'm talking about you're at the grocery store. You're
your
looking at
your
you look at the person.
intellectual flow of the inner voice.
Something that could be the closest to being considered a sentence in your head that you're aware
Mhm.
of in the
Mhm.
present moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You look, you're at the grocery store. In that moment of interaction, you can either just be like, there's another person, here's the things I'm thinking of, just whatever's happening in your head, I got to do this thing, you're in the past, you're in the future. Or you could say, there's me, or there's the same fundamental material of me that's living a different clothes and experience, and that will reflect differently on them. People will treat you differently. That will magnify, and that has a completely different experiential effect on how you're aware of your reality. So my
Yeah.
question is, like, are we suggesting there's both truth in reacting to the world as a scientific reductionist materialist, and there's also truth in reacting to the world as like, a super spiritual, faith-based, oneness oriented mindset guy, and there's truth in both, but we also acknowledge that there's only so many thoughts we can be aware of at one time. It's like,
Huh.
doesn't
And
one
there's also
doesn't
illusion in
one
both.
right, but doesn't one of those have a net better effect objectively on your life and on what happens in your life, regardless
Right,
of
because
whether or not it's
you're integrating different perspectives into
right?
your life experience.
Yes.
But you still have to balance between being everyone and no one, and between being yourself, very specifically yourself, and who you are as a persona,
The
as a
monkey mind. The
person,
monkey.
as a yeah, as a yeah,
No.
individual monkey mind
So hold on,
person.
hold on. Do you not feel the same dilemma that I feel in that question?
What's the dilemma? What's the simplest form of the dilemma?
What thoughts do you have?
That's a hard. That's a hard question to answer.
And why?
And why?
If
Just
I have the thoughts of a full-on scientific reductionist materialist, I'm never going to have the thought. Well, I could also maybe try to argue it, but I don't think I would have the thoughts of, wow, You're the Big Bang approaching me in this way at this stage in the evolution of the universe where the universe is conscious of itself, and you're just another representation of that consciousness approaching me in that way. Like, hey, what's up? I'm totally there.
Mhm.
Or you'd probably never adopt that. And if there's a net positive result in having that, then how can you argue not to have that? This is all based on the fundamental understanding that we're able to impose thoughts and we're able to design our experience of the world. If that's true, then we have to decide what to put there once we remove the garbage. And if we can
Sure.
put something there, what do we put there and why?
So the question becomes what kind of persons shall we be,
Yeah, well, who do you,
right?
and yeah, what kind of person do you become and why?
Mm-hmm. McKenna quote.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's highly subjective in the way that you can reverse engineer that for yourself out of self-awareness. And I think self-awareness would be a huge part, it takes a very big role in answering that question for yourself because you have to know sort of where you're going or where are you running from, what you don't want more of, what you want more of, and and the why
Yeah,
may
that's
just
the
be
thing.
and the why may just be because I think this is who I am, or I think this is right for me. It may be just intuition or some sort of inner um, thing that you go along with that
Right.
it's hard to name, but it's extremely hard to say what self-awareness is.
Right. So if you go along with this
Let's go along. Yeah.
no, listen,
Hmm.
if you go along with what's intuition, say, intuition,
Hmm.
isn't that just faith?
Intuition. I don't think intuition is faith.
And if you go along with intuition and say this feels like my reality, I feel like yeah, I am a part of a collective consciousness and that feels intuitively right.
Yeah.
Then you simultaneously prevent yourself from seeing the other perspective at the same time, which also we've decided has truth in it also.
Yeah.
Um, but then you're always then you it's here's the thing.
I feel
If it's
like
hold on.
you need to arrive somewhere, but there's nowhere to arrive. It's a constant balancing
Right.
scenario.
So if you don't arrive anywhere, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Then all you are is awareness of the machine. And then you don't actually get to become anything you design because if you make choices, then you eliminate other choices, and then if you just go awareness, then you're just monkey mind for the rest of your life.
No. Why?
Because if we agree that we can't impose a perspective because imposing a perspective will deny its opposite,
Yeah.
then you can't impose. Therefore, all you
You
can do is let it run, and if you let it run, that's going to be your software that you've installed based on your genetics and life experience.
but whenever you impose a perspective or a point of view, you're doing it for the sake of exploration, curiosity, coming out with a different understanding on the other side, and for the sake of finding a new balance, finding a new middle point. But you need to take sides every once in a while so that you rediscover yourself and reality and come up with new mappings of reality that are more balanced or more that incorporate more and a more oneness oriented perspective,
Yeah.
but you're still an individual in a society, and unless you either that was crazy though. No, it's like someone closed the window. Um,
Sorry.
Dude, I need to get, just stand up, get the coffee, come back, 10 seconds.
Okay. I'm gonna put on the image cause yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
let's take a minute. Okay.
We're live. Welcome to Spoken
Back.
Openness, episode
Chapter 3.
7.
Episode 7, Chapter 3. Let's go.
Chapter 3, the next chapter.
So we're entering a bit of a heated up exploration, right?
Well, the thing is, I think it's my fundamental dilemma. It's one of my fundamental dilemmas, I think.
That's great to be talking about like the fundamental,
One of the fundamental dilemmas.
not a variate, not a like small thing. We're talking
Yeah.
about the thing.
It's
dude, here.
a
It's like,
thing,
this
man.
is it. This is it.
Um, so
Okay. Okay.
if I can summarize kind of what I was gathering from
Please. Yeah.
from the perspective that you were adopting.
I should try to summarize your perspective so that we.
Yeah. My
Right?
perspective isn't really one. My perspective is just a problem and and like clarifying
Mhm.
the issue.
Yeah.
Um, I think what you were saying is possibly in the face of the problem that I was bringing forward. You were suggesting that in order to explore balance, you need to, and to be honest and truthful with yourself and what you believe reality is, you need to know what intuitively you are recognizing in that moment, in that day, and that perspectives and truths, or that your perspectives will flow with that, and that imposing something is not a solution, and that maybe you're suggesting that some days, if intuitively it feels more like you are associating with the notion that, you know, the oneness perspective or the way of approaching people, or having that sort of state of awareness that doesn't feel appropriate because you are considering or exploring its opposite, then you
Mhm.
allow that to be, and you don't impose an alternative just because you feel like having that thought is preventing you from having an alternative idea. You explore it because that's what feels like where you're at. And so life will be a fluctuating of states of awareness between perspectives that you feel are true and valid. Is
Yeah.
that...
I feel like the opposite also affirms the fact that the other side has value. Um, so what I'm saying is, in a very abstract manner, you can't figure out where the light is without looking at the shadow.
Right. Or without being in darkness first and foremost.
Mm. Yeah, I will stand up and come back in 3 seconds exactly.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, and I'm back.
I think in that time I got a stomach rumble, and I think we might have picked that up. That was nice.
Nice, nice, nice.
Um,
That's
okay,
awesome.
so this is maybe evolving into kind of the both and thing, which I've been thinking about a lot lately in terms of politics.
Okay.
But maybe this is completely applies to the situation in that we need opposing perspectives. We need it. We need both. It won't exist
Yeah.
without one or the other, and also the
Mhm.
truths of one thing can't be clarified without bouncing it off what makes it true based on the false alternatives. Like you said,
Yeah.
if
Hmm.
it's light, you can't confirm it's light if you don't look at the darkness. Or, everything is relative. Um,
No, but in that scenario, doing the light analogy,
right.
if you're looking, for example, at a movie,
Yeah.
if you look at the shadows, you might figure out where the DP put some lights, and if you look at the character's eye and reflections in the eye, you might figure out where are the lights behind. So
Right.
that's not so relative. There's
Exactly.
some specificity involved in the relation of the opposites.
Yeah.
Um, so in that way, whenever you're exploring the opposite argument of where you may be coming from naturally, you're also exploring where you're coming from by diving in the opposite. And the fact that you choose that to be the opposite also tells a lot about where you're coming from and what your current understanding is. And like you could argue, and we could talk about how the self is an illusion, how the ego is not real in the same way that we could science could prove that some things are real and true. Um,
Yeah.
but also you can't live without ego, and you can't stop
Right.
being an individual. Um, you could renounce it all and um, go to the cave
Right.
basically.
But that's practically suicide.
But
Right.
that's exactly, we've talked about this,
Yeah.
and we've talked about this is a real possibility for both of us years ago.
Dude, yeah. An ascetic like
And
monk life.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we decided to explore that without renouncing,
Right.
and in a sense that's like not having the complete experience of the discovering of that world.
Right. That's
Um,
kind of like dharma, right? Like you don't change your path based on it's like duty. I need to check it out, but
hmm.
um yeah, it's like incorporating discoveries and enlightenment into your life. Like the point isn't to change your life. The point is to live your life. And
Yeah, or change your life in the relation of your community also.
right.
Like uh, be the valuable possible
Right.
node that permeates the new understanding or the new mapping of reality that you're discovering
Yeah.
or that you're blessed to be experiencing. It's like renouncing the renunciation path, that in a sense it's easy and almost solves, as you were saying in the beginning of this talk, um, the idea and the concept of giving up or killing desire and or dissolving any sense of urgency to figure out external stuff
Yeah.
so that you can be here, totally present, treat each person as an endless
Yeah.
source of,
Yeah.
like putting more words into it just makes it less less powerful.
Yeah.
And but then is that really useful? Is that practical? Right?
Yeah.
Because it matters if it is either useful or practical in the wider sense, in the bigger picture, in the future of the society, and where things may end up in the more bigger perspective, which involves all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Yeah, yeah. Because it would be really hard to have conversations where we're 100% treating each other as not Ian or Farid, just
right.
as it'll make things really, really difficult, I think. And
Right. Well,
there's certain
there's
people that can allow,
right.
if you already went from being Richard Alpert to Baba Ramdas, you can allow yourself, I think, to have that experience more freely, and you're already sort of. And I imagine, because of course I don't know, but I imagine it can be really hard and demanding to be in that place
Yeah.
all the time and talk to everyone and communicate with everyone from that place.
But I
Um,
don't. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think in that situation it would be to always consider yourself being in that place. It's to recognize that it's just more clothes. Um, but I guess I can see someone else as only the clothes, or you could see them as the clothes and all the rest of it as well.
yeah. Hmm.
So maybe the problem is all based on a false premise that you can only have one thought at one time.
Yeah, that you need to take sides or
Right.
arrive somewhere or be standing on some, yeah. Hmm.
Although
How
the
to
problem I
how to
have is
have
with
an integral understanding in your communication where, because otherwise you wouldn't ever even speak.
but that's the problem. It's like simultaneous belief in contradictions makes you nothing. Right?
Yeah,
We basically basically the result of this or right now where I'm at, the
yeah,
discovery that or that notion of, well, you try to keep it all at one time, or there's no limit to thoughts, you can see both sides at the same time. then that just means that you see nothing, because you're believing everything at one time is the same as believing nothing.
Exactly.
So it's a paradox.
Yeah. It is. It may be the great paradox.
Because the
How
answer
to
the answer to it is no answer. The solution is
and
is
all the answers.
no
Yeah.
solution.
Um,
That
but also
sucks.
that's why I brought up
I don't-
practicality,
Yeah.
and figuring out if it matters in the larger contexts.
Right. Well, that's why.
Because when you brought up like the alien DJs, right?
Yeah.
Does that does that make it, maybe that makes your life more interesting or unique,
That's what
or
I'm
you
saying.
feel like you're in this
Right.
crazy experience every day, and
Right.
like and of course you can also be affected by many different drugs, or and have that induced by many substances,
Right. Dream
so that
state.
you're
Chanting. Yeah.
yeah, and that may make your life experience better in the sense that it's more unique, or that, but if
But
I'd say it's valuable to argue that if it's not being valuable for everyone in a general context,
Right.
then it does matter if it's important to explore that or not.
Right. What I was trying to say earlier with that rule was like have faith in something that can have an objective and measurable positive net result. And by that, maybe it's like self-reported sense of well-being from the people around you. Maybe it's like, on the whole, it's longer life. Maybe it's reported, amount of times you get sick. Maybe it's like, it's clear that people who are religious heal faster in the hospital, right? So what do we do with that information? Does that mean that people who aren't religious could benefit from being religious if they get sick? Yes. Does that mean that people would have to adopt non-rational and non-scientific claims? Yes, also yes. So
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you could be spiritual and not religious, and you could
right.
also,
Make the placebo effect rational.
yeah,
But does it work
but
I don't think that works in
also
that way.
also
You
saying
can't.
saying that spirituality is a real thing, or claiming yourself a spiritual person,
Dude,
that's also filled with illusion and
I'm top
like
spiritual.
yeah.
I'm the best. I'm the most spiritual person.
You're the most spiritual right now. Um, there's many ways the ego puts traps on the observer, so that you're no longer an observer. You're like a bearer of the experience.
The witness.
So right. So the mhm,
No?
the experiencer.
Right, but you can
Like,
but you
would
can
you say if
also
you're
be experience something, and you can notice yourself experiencing it. So is it the thing noticing,
yeah.
or is it the thing totally invested in the ice cream? Like, the flavors. I feel the energy, the
So
calorie.
you could do both, but can you do both at once?
Well, there's the thing about, can you hold both of those simultaneously? And this goes to my question about the present moment that I think I might have brought up before we were live, which was is there anything actually is there anything that's actually the present moment? Because if you are present, you can't take everything in. You can't take everything in.
Yeah,
You
so it's
can't.
the same kind of paradox, but
It's the
you're
same
putting it
paradox.
in the present moment
Right.
situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
So
in my mind, I have deified the
the
notion
present.
the notion of the present. And I don't necessarily think that that's a false deification. I think that that is enlightenment. I think that that is, you know, it's why we revere animals, because they appear like they are simply living in the world, reacting without hesitation, without they're rolling,
Yeah.
and we obsess over different time periods and future and past, and that the present moment is um, but if you are so present to the sound in the air, you can't also be totally aware of the feeling and of the ground and of what you're sitting on, and if there's a smell and the bird that just flew by, and
Yeah.
you can't.
And could we agree that if you're thinking of the future, you're not present?
Yeah,
But we could
I
also
agree.
say that we could also argue that the both like thinking happens in present moment, and the future is it's a visualization of a present that is not here yet, but it's a possibility, and that happens in the present. So we could also make the argument so that if you're thinking and visualizing the future, you're doing that, you're present, but that's the your present action. It's happening
Right.
in that present. So um,
I
and
get. I think I get that. I think I get that, but to me, that's kind of like a trick.
mhm,
If you're
mhm.
if you're worried about something next week and you're imagining it and you can't factor in all the variables. So no matter how accurate you are, it's not going to be the present moment in the future. So that I don't think that that's
But you could say tomorrow I want to have an apple for breakfast
yes.
and make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is if you can't choose, then like if you're trapped in your mind and in your future visualization and future worry,
Yeah.
if you're trapped, then there's a problem. You're not balanced. You don't have both opposites of the paradox being incorporated in your current experience.
Mhm.
But I feel like this discussion may never get anywhere because it's a dance of opposites that you can't be standing in both places at once. You're either immersed or you're in thought. But if you're if you willfully make an intentional process of future visualization,
Yeah.
that's your present and you are present and and it's a conscious present. Because also too much present immersion is not good. You need to engage rational thought. You need to develop your personality and your individual
Right.
understanding and mapping of and
Right.
language
But
pulls you away from present.
it's
It's
the ratio that matters, though. Wouldn't you agree? The interplay of using the programs, like in your head you've got future simulation program. It's like the Sims, and you can open that and you can say, what if I ran into the street, probably get hit by a car? You can visualize it. I'm not going to do that. and so then you can design what you might do. I'm going to click the
Hmm.
thing because that's probably I'm going to walk across the road. So you got that simulation software. Obviously, if you're running that all the time, you're not noticing anything in the present, and you never are here. And then if you're here and you never run that software, you're going to have no control over your destiny, your the unfolding of events that will lead you to the present moment in the future. So
Yeah.
so like the other thing, it's about the interplay between those things. Um, yeah, I think technology pulls you away from it's everything needs to be purposeful and a tool, and that's where it becomes important that your conscious state is has a government who is aware and is able to send troops in the right places and set up the right software from running at the right times and for a specific reason
Hmm. Yeah.
without going too far and turning everything into an imposition.
Right. So you need some reminders to not go too far,
Right.
to not forget for too long, so that you're constantly being reminded that you're not just monkey mind, you're not
Yeah.
just ego or physical body. There's a higher perspective, there's a broader understanding, and there's a way to incorporate that in a practical way in your life experience. But um, you also need to remind yourself that too much oneness and too much subjectivity and too much um, detachment from ego is also it also has a pathological aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So health in this conversation equals balance. Would you agree?
Yeah, health. Um,
To have a healthy relationship with both of those opposites,
right. Yeah.
you would need balance.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
practice. That's what
Right.
makes it hard because you can get lost in unbalanced aspects of both opposites.
Right. So
But you
it's
also need to, in a sense,
right.
get lost and have a fluctuating
Right.
relation. Yeah,
So
I don't know.
it's recognizing that the pendulum is necessary and that
Yeah.
you are the pendulum, and to be aware and be aware if the pendulum is has got a little sticky, and if
Hmm.
it's like kind of floating in one area, and maybe you need to nudge it a little bit and allow the movement again between all the various sides. Maybe it's not just two sides. It's multivariant, and
Hmm.
you're floating around there, but always having moments of being in the center. And maybe when you're in the center in the present moment and aware of your present, that's kind of where you get those epiphanies of oneness. Maybe when the pendulum is kind of in the middle and you happen to be practicing mindfulness and meditating, boom, you get that middle pendulum oneness explosion. But you're always on the move, and you just recognize that you're the pendulum.
Yeah. I would argue with all of that. I would agree with all of that.
Okay.
I'm not
I was like,
arguing.
what?
What?
But as you should, because and I should too, because then if we agree, then we're simply the pendulum. We're the pendulum,
Mm,
bro.
mm, mm.
Stop
But
being.
if you make it practical, sometimes you're engaging in conversation, being more persona, being more
Yeah, yeah,
all the historical, intellectual baggage that you're carrying and
yeah.
that gives you personality.
Right.
Whenever you're going there, uh, and you feel like it may be out of balance, you can always just breathe and focus on breathing, and that will most of the time pull you into present moment recognition, and the recognition that you're not only intellect,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and in that way meditation would no I'm sorry, breathing
Yeah.
becomes sort of the anchor,
Yeah.
um, to not have the pendulum go too crazy.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so breathing is in everything. Every discipline or tradition or
Yeah.
set of tools make a fundamental focus on breath,
Right.
right?
It's almost like if there's a spider web that represents the pendulum map, and the pendulum goes around it, and all of those nodes, like a it's probably it like correlates to neural networks. Imagine, and all of those nodes have names, memories, identified descriptors, and
Hmm.
you're moving between them as you are aware of your perspective shifting. When you uh, go back to the breath, maybe it's not like the pendulum goes back to the center, but it's like you allow those names to disappear and you allow the actual pendulum to disappear, and it becomes that fundamental map that isn't defined and isn't structured, because by having those names and by having those structures and having the boundaries of this way of thinking, that way of thinking, it's actually in itself a a perspective. It's a state
Yeah.
of being aware of the different positions that are all fundamentally um, a causal result of your life experience and what you've been aware of. And that breath is a fundamental experience that isn't colored. If you're
Mhm.
totally aware of it, and it's not, and your thoughts are related to only the awareness of it and not secondary, not aware that you haven't been exercising as much, so your breathing is slightly faster, and you're aware of that, and you're considering that while you experience.
Yeah.
It's totally just immersion, and it's hard, and that's I think what the practice is, and we keep coming back to kind of the importance of meditation, which is kind of interesting.
It
Um,
is. Yeah. I
yeah,
like the concept of, we always say we're conscious or to become conscious or to become aware, and we relate that with the experience of the present moment and
mm-hmm.
the thoughtless immersion in the action of flow that is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that that is spirituality. Um, totally. There's, I think, this step, one more step aspect to it. That's not only if you are conscious or aware, but what are you aware of? That makes a difference. So and maybe that doesn't make a difference, but maybe it does, and that's my question for you right now. Does do you think it's different to have, because I could argue that you could be immersed in present moment and
Yeah.
to be here now from an intellectual perspective, almost from a monkey mind experience, to
Right.
be like if you're in a go-kart race with your
Yeah.
friends, and for example, right? But
Yeah.
you may be really awaken in that moment,
Right.
like fully immersed, thoughtless, but from a personality experience point of view. And so the question that I'm raising is, maybe it matters more, not so much if you're conscious or unconscious, but what are you conscious of right now? And from the spiritual slash religious perspective is to be conscious of my higher self, or my or the abstract subjective aspect of myself that is eternal, that is non-physical, that is
Right.
related to.
And also and also an ideal probably as well.
Mhm, mhm.
And the relationship of that to the actions that you're taking and the reason behind the way you are engaging in those actions or deciding about actions, or the direction that your actions are taking you,
Yeah,
and
and in relation to a deep purpose for
to an
your life
ideal. Yeah.
existence.
Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. And maybe
That's
that's.
another one where that's another one where it becomes that beliefs and faith and the relationship between faith in something regardless of material or scientific explainable facts,
Yeah.
and the benefit that something might have on the experience of your life. um,
So you could say that it's a you're having a substantially different life if you're living the life of a human being that is every once in a while engaging in spiritual experience.
yeah.
And if the other experience would be if you're a spiritual being
Yeah.
in a human being
Right.
experience temporarily.
Right.
It's totally different. And in
Yeah.
both you could be present, in both you could be spiritual, but it's substantially a different point of view in a very basic and
Right.
yeah. What do you think on that?
Ah, man, honestly a little bit blank.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
you know I think there's an aspect to these conversations that are semantic and maybe never loop, and like will never be, but there's also an aspect to it that is highly practical and is influential in day-to-day uh, experience. um, the question that's sort of ongoing and kind of hard to really uh, settle is, what do you decide to impose on your actions and your conscious, what do you decide to shine light on, what do you decide to keep the spotlight on mentally, how do you navigate present with running the programs that are necessary to reaching an ideal abstract in the future, like running the future programs, running simulators in your mind for the future, and planning, thinking about the past in beneficial ways that might alter the way that you behave in the future because you recognize things in yourself that you want, that you're improving upon based on an ideal. So the fundamental thing is, how much do you decide to engineer and impose on your conscious moment, and why? That, I think, is maybe my fundamental question as I continue to strive for bettering myself and bettering my experience of living in a human body.
Yeah.
I guess my question to you then is, are there generalizations that can be applied to that question that are true? Are there general concepts that you think might benefit both of us as we meditate and think about negotiating present moment and all that stuff? Or do you think that focusing energy on that question is futile and maybe misdirected energy?
Wow.
Please be wrong.
Dude, first of all, the fact is, I don't know. I struggle
I know. Yeah.
to figure it out. Just like
all I'm saying is be the person that's answering right now. One more time.
I know. And it's hard because
feel free to phrase it in a question that makes me be the answer guy, by the way.
that's where I was going, actually.
It's like a cheat code.
But the thing is that phrasing it as a question implies that there's a right answer for the question, and what we agree with is that there isn't. That the actual that first of all, like just attempting to raise the question is already
Right.
a simulation that has both truth, and it could fall down very fast if you try to bulletproof it, because you could argue that it's illusion, etc., etc.
Last night I wrote a sentence. The only thing I wrote down last night was the sentence, "Everything is a koan." Do you know what the koans are?
Yeah.
It's like the unanswerable Japanese questions
The
that
riddles.
the riddles that they're made to just make you realize that you can't answer.
Or made to realize there's a both and
right.
aspect to the thing. So there's a koan that I really like, where these two monks, they've been training to get over the mental. It's gonna be super hard to phrase this
Okay.
and not sound like I'm over.
Just go for it. Yeah.
They've been trained to get over the mental reactions to beautiful women, right? But they're walking in the road, and a beautiful woman shows up and asks for help to cross the river, right?
Yeah, classic scenario.
Exactly. They can't even, they in their traditional training, they're not even supposed to look at beautiful women, so that they don't get any sort of activity from the interaction. It's almost, and let alone touch the beautiful woman's body,
right?
But this monk just naturally goes and carries her and helps her. He becomes sort of a gentleman with the woman. He carries her, helps her cross the river
Yeah.
and says hugs her, says goodbye to her, and his charming little interaction, and the woman goes, and he just goes back with his friend, and just the, he's like nothing happened. Let's just continue walking, right? But then the friend he becomes little bit frustrated
Mm-hmm.
for the fact that the other monk did that. It's like you're not even supposed to look at her,
Uh-huh.
right? And he brings it up and he's like, why did you do that? I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
why you broke the thing. You looked at her and like and and then the ending is something like, I'm not carrying her anymore. Why are you?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I like that because
Yeah.
it's, dude, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is most of these questions we're raising, it's a mental carrying of the thing that if you just breathe and you just let go,
hundred
the
percent.
sort of the question disappears most of the time.
Right. And I 100% agree with that. However, uh, in order to change habit and to change the way that you act and behave and perceive the world, you have to make changes in terms of the way that you see the world and the way that you think.
Yep.
So while recognizing that story, which is hilarious and beautiful, and I love the way that you told it,
Thanks.
genuinely.
And it's just an
Uh,
oversimplification of like whatever.
right.
Yeah.
My point
Mm.
is, I'm not letting you off the hook that easily as being answer guy.
Okay,
And
I'm answer guy.
what I
Still answer
what I
guy.
what I want to know as question guy is, are there any generalizations or any takeaways from this discussion
Yeah.
that we can apply in our journey to become more mindful and aware and and capable of improving things in our lives that we want to improve?
Mm-hmm.
What should
Mm-hmm.
we do differently? Basically,
Mm-hmm.
what should we do
I
differently?
think I think as answer guy, I
Yeah,
can answer that we're doing
nice.
pretty good so far. Um, because we're debating in terms of multivariate situations.
Yeah,
We're contemplating opposite realities
trying to accept
that,
variables.
yeah, and we're contemplating the paradoxical scenarios and trying to come in terms with polar stuff.
Right.
That's a step towards having a broader perspective.
Okay. Okay.
I
You're saying we're already doing it.
yeah, I think we're already doing it
Wow.
in the way
That's great.
that we contemplate opposite scenarios and we're able to detach ourselves from,
Right.
being solidly grounded in one perspective, and we're also able to become answer guy or question guy on demand, and um, that testifies to, you know, finding truth in exploring from one mindset,
Wow.
and then also then reminding yourself that there's this other possibility, and then there's this other possibility, and while you're doing that, remember that you can breathe, and it's all just a mental game that you're engaging with because you can and you want to, and it's not all a mental trap that you can get lost in and live a hell,
Yeah.
because mental traps can become hell very
Uh
fast.
huh.
But it's like you're willing to
The
go out
pendulum.
there and put yourself in danger and allow yourself to be like, no, dude, you're wrong,
Yeah.
in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And that's something that not most people are doing.
I don't want to, let's not pat ourselves on the back, but answer guy, I'm feeling answer guy. Thank you. I feel like, so you, instead of saying, and I love this, instead of saying, here's what we should do in the future, you basically are saying we already started doing it.
Yeah, and it's not patting ourselves in the back. It's
On the back.
if on in the on the thanks. If
Although if we imagine it, we could probably pat ourselves in the back psychologically. You could get in there.
psychologically, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's all subjective, then you can just speak wrong and don't have proper grammar, and it doesn't matter. Just kidding.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm gonna do
okay.
a quick summary of what I feel like I need to remind myself of. No?
Yes,
You had
please.
something?
No, no, no. I'm good. I'm good. I just, out of being answer guy,
Yes.
I could, I could, I could 100% be not know what I'm talking about.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and I think we talked about this a little bit in our last podcast, but my main takeaway, I think, is breath, being aware of what's going on in your head, awareness of what the pendulum is doing, being aware of the pendulum, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily focusing on imposing, not focusing on the imposition,
Not focusing
right?
on the position. Yeah.
Connecting the breath, noticing the pendulum, seeing the thoughts, rolling
Allowing
with
yourself to become the position as a simulation for an understanding to happen.
right, not worrying about the fact that you may, if you are holding a position, you know that there's potential for that to mean that you've excluded yourself from believing the opposite, but not allowing that notion to prevent yourself from exploring that potential in the moment.
Yeah.
Not imposing like, hey, but you know that's not true. You know it could be the opposite. Always. That's
Embrace
contradictory to what we just
curiosity.
said, dude. Answer guy just told me to that we're recognizing contradictory statements at the same time, and then my answer guy just said to allow yourself to be invested in an idea, even if you know that there's an opposite there. Our answer guys are not on the same
No,
page.
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Um,
We gotta close up this podcast.
you allow you allow yourself to stand somewhere solid
Yeah.
just for the sake of exploring an idea.
And noticing that the pendulum's there.
Exactly. So you don't become attached.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're playing, you're role playing.
Right.
But you know there's different perspectives that will change
Yeah.
the mapping of the reality,
Yes.
right?
And allow yourself to be in that region of the map before you go to another region. Don't stay in the middle
Mhm.
looking at the region and then going to another one and just like looking at them. Go there, like get inside, see the mountains,
Mhm.
look
Get
around,
yourself
touch the
dirty, get
grass,
yourself, yeah, exactly.
get down and dirty on the
Mhm.
map of reality.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of the mud
All right.
because and the darkness and the shadow.
Get in the mud.
because, Yeah, yeah.
Check out all the terrains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Get your rain jacket on. It's about to get stormy.
So you put on your rain jacket on. You
Get
put
your
on your
binoculars.
rain jacket on.
Take your binoculars off. Go close.
Yeah, yeah. And then jump back again. And then you're like, whoa, nope, not there yet. because I'm
Right.
going here, maybe I'm going here,
But don't
and
shift
yeah,
too much. Don't shift too much. Don't have rollerblades on.
not too much.
Don't
No, no,
rollerblade
please don't
around.
go rollerblading. You need to like have your feet touching the
Stop
ground. Yeah.
rollerblading. Everybody
But
stop
allow
roller
yourself to rollerblade every once in a
occasionally
while, just occasionally.
and
Yeah,
feel how
not
the
too much.
blades are. Get into it.
Feel the wind hit your face, and
Yeah.
maybe close your eyes for a few seconds, and
Right.
then just open up, and you're still there. You're still on the rollerblades.
But while you're closing your eyes, don't think, what if I open my eyes right now? Just you're there.
Just exactly, you
Yeah.
need to be there. Yeah,
Man, you know what? I think we figured it all out. And
yeah,
I think we figured it all out. We have all the answers. And I feel good about it.
exactly. That's
Um,
and then
we're
that proves
rollerblading
that
explorers with a rain jacket on.
you can arrive home after being lost.
What?
I completely disagree with you right now, and that's okay.
I'm totally joking.
Uh,
I think this I feel like I'm ready to kind of wrap it up.
yeah,
I feel like, man, I love this
same.
conversation. There's a lot there that I feel is practical, even though
Yeah,
a lot of, if anybody listened, they might be like, what the, that's had no function. I feel like it had a function for me, and I hope anyone who listened might be able to get something useful from it. But I enjoyed it, and
that's what matters. Yeah, it was fun, first of all,
yeah,
and and
and it touched on fundamental questions and problems that I have about reality, and you
yeah,
don't always get to recognize that or talk about that. Yeah, thank you for
right. Not only talk
being an
about
answer.
that and touch. Yeah, no, thank you. Because it's not only fun and it's not only about exploring the ideas, but also feeling like it's valuable. That
Which I don't think is subjective, but that's we. Let's not go down another rabbit hole.
it's not subjective if you can measure a way that this conversation helped you, or
Right.
yeah,
It gets, yeah, okay, yeah, but
yeah, ish,
it feels beneficial,
and that's good
uh,
enough.
and that's great. Um, there was
So
something
this
I
is
was
it,
thinking
wrapping it up.
about, but yeah, all right. I thought I had
Okay,
something there, but I don't. Thanks again. And
thank you.
to anyone who made it through all of the technical difficulties and is seeing this right now,
We applaud.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We're humble.
yeah, all right.
We did it.
See you
One more.
soon. Take care.
Take care, brother. Peace.